and we dig in for you.
Yet we sift through it all and pull out the key takeaways, the interesting bits, so you get the core insights without getting bogged down.
Exactly. So today, we've got a document that's titled Perfume Bottle Products. Now, first look, it seems like just a product list. Maybe a bit dry.
But you might just picture, rows of codes and numbers. Not exactly thrilling stuff on the surface.
Uh-huh.
But as we often find, even in data that looks pretty mundane, there can be some really interesting patterns hiding there.
Think of this as your shortcut to understanding what this list is really about.
So what are we actually looking at here?
Okay, so it looks like a catalog. Perfume bottle products. On one side, you've got these product codes, letters, numbers.
Alphanumeric.
And on the other side, these sequences of numbers. Often 6 digits, sometimes they have a prefix like a 1 foot. And our mission, I guess, is to figure out, are these numbers just random? Or is there something more going on, a hidden meaning?
Well, the first thing that kind of jumps out is just the sheer volume.
Oh yeah, lots of entries.
Hundreds of these product codes, each with its own number sequence. It suggests, a pretty significant operation.
Or a very detailed tracking system.
Exactly. A big range of products. Or maybe very granular tracking.
So definitely not just a few items they threw together, their scale. Now, those product identifiers themselves, the codes with letters and numbers.
Yeah.
I couldn't immediately see an obvious pattern there, like how they're put together.
No, me neither. And that kind of makes the numbers next to them even more interesting, doesn't it?
It does, because if the product code isn't telling a clear story, then maybe the numbers are. Are they linked somehow, subtly? Or are they a completely separate piece of information, like batch info or dates?
Okay, let's talk about one of the first things we spotted as we were scanning down the list.
The number 21195. It popped up quite a few times.
Yeah, definitely noticeable. Sometimes just like that, 21195.
And other times with a 1 right in front of it, 12195.
Right. That repetition, especially with and without that leading 1, that feels significant. It strongly suggests some kind of category marker.
Ah, okay, like a grouping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty common in inventory systems. You have a base code for shared features, maybe a product line or a batch type, and then prefixes or suffixes indicate minor variations, or maybe different stages, like production versus finished goods.
That makes sense. So we're moving beyond just seeing random digits. It hints at, like, a system, classification. Okay, so what about the other numbers, the ones that seem to be mostly 6 digits long? They looked way more varied.
They did, yeah. Much like repetition there. And that wide range, well, it could mean a few different things.
Such as?
They might be batch numbers, for tracking specific production runs. That's pretty standard.
Okay, yeah. Traceability.
Or they could be manufacturing dates, maybe coded in a specific format like Julian days or something less obvious. Or, given the potential detail here, maybe even quality control indicators tied to specific tests or results during production.
Wow. Okay. So it's almost like deciphering a language specific to these bottles.
Kind of, yeah. The product code is the name.
And these numbers tell its story.
Potentially, yes. Its history, its characteristics, something like that.
And it makes you wonder, if you look at these pairings, the code and the number, could you start seeing connections? Like, do certain types of product codes tend to show up with certain ranges of those 6-digit numbers?
That's the next step, isn't it? That could reveal patterns in how things are made or sorted that aren't obvious just looking at one entry.
So, for you listening right now, think about data you might see day to day, spreadsheets, lists.
Yeah.
Do you ever see these kinds of pairs? An identifier and then a number that seems, random.
Could there be a similar logic hiding there? A system you could potentially figure out.
If we had more time or maybe more context.
We could even do something like a frequency analysis on those 6-digit numbers.
What would that tell us?
Well, you'd see if certain number ranges pop up more often than others.
Yeah.
That might point towards, say, periods of higher production or maybe specific product lines that are made in larger quantities.
Ah, interesting. Linking frequency to activity or popularity.
Could be, yeah.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together, this perfume bottle products document. It's definitely not just a simple list.
No, it appears to be structured data. You've got the product identifiers linked to these numerical codes.
And those codes likely represent key things about the bottles, attributes, events in their life cycle, something meaningful.
And the repetition we saw, like with 2019-95, That strongly hints at underlying categories or some kind of classification system being used.
But what's really intriguing is what we don't know.
Right. We can see the structure, we can infer meaning, but without the key, the actual code book.
The precise details are still a bit of a mystery.
Exactly. It's like seeing encrypted messages. You know there's information, but you can't quite read it yet.
So that leaves us, and you, with a question to think about. Looking at these product codes next to their numbers, what else could those numbers mean?
Yeah, what are the other possibilities?
Could they track where the glass came from? The raw materials?
Ooh, interesting. Origin tracking.
Or maybe different stages, like filling the bottle versus packaging it?
Could be process steps, yeah.
Or maybe even which market it's intended for, distribution channels,
All plausible. What hidden stories might these numbers be holding on to?
It really shows, doesn't it? Even technical-looking documents, lists, they can hold surprises.
Absolutely. This deep dive really highlights that. If you pay attention to the patterns, ask the right questions.
You can often uncover some really valuable insights from data that just looks like noise at first.
Makes you want to look closer at the next spreadsheet you open, doesn't it?